Hi, I'm Jamie Andreessen, a work at home mom passionate about helping entrepreneurs like you build a thriving laser business. Whether you're just starting out, looking to grow, or ready to scale your business, this podcast is for you. We'll dive deep into the world of lasers and other machine crafting equipment, cover topics like business strategies, mindset shifts, customer experience, and creative inspiration. I'll share my own experience navigating business with young kids, building a successful shop. Get ready to learn, grow, and have some fun. Welcome to Party with a Laser. Hello and welcome to episode number 3 of Party with a Laser. Today we are going to talk about how to sell your stuff and where all you can sell it at. Today I'm joined by my co-host, my lovely husband, Eric. Do you want to introduce yourself?
No.
Okay, this should be a fun episode. Let's get started.
Do you remember when we first decided to start selling anything?
That feels both like yesterday and like 100 years ago at the same time.
Right. Do you remember we had an idea and then we had no idea where to start?
Oh, it took us weeks to get the first listing done. It was so scary just to list something on Etsy for the first time.
Yeah, we decided to start with Etsy because we thought that was the most approachable. I feel like most people, though, probably start feeling out friends and family, though.
Yeah, friends and family would definitely probably be the easiest way to start.
I think that's kind of what we've told other people who've come to us saying, hey, I've got an idea of a business I want to start. And we've usually told them, hey, start with the friends and family because they'll give you some good feedback.
Yes, they are going to give you the feedback whether you want it or not. So make sure you take this feedback with like a little bit of a grain of salt because they might not be your target audience.
But others of them might be the perfect person because we've had a couple people who have really kind of championed some of our stuff as well. So friends and family can be a really good sales avenue, at least when you're first getting started and then potentially further on. But it's at least a good place to start if you're just starting out. But
yeah, you could also do like your personal social medias as well,
which I think we'll talk about in a little bit. But I think we'll start kind of with where we started. We started on Etsy.
Yeah.
And that seemed like a really easy, really approachable, kind of less scary. They do a lot of the work for you as far as the getting your stuff out there. I feel like people are fairly familiar with Etsy as a shop. So it's just getting your stuff out there to be found.
Perfect.
Well, and then if you've, I guess, had your business for a little bit, maybe you're already on Etsy. The key thing about Etsy, though, is they change their algorithm, I guess, for lack of a better word, fairly frequently. So staying on top of the changes and trying to figure out kind of what they're pushing, because it seems like they'll get maybe initiatives is the best word for it. So not too long ago, they started pushing some of like the videos. And then I feel like for a little bit there, they were pushing some sustainability stuff. So I feel like if you kind of follow what Etsy's starting to push, that can also help get your stuff seen.
One of the newer ones was the shipping. So making sure that your shipping was less than a certain amount. And I have found that we have better luck whenever we're kind of staying on top of whatever Etsy's pushing.
Now, how do you keep on top of that? Because I know you'll come to me every, I don't know, it feels like every month, every couple months, but you'll say, hey, Etsy's changed their algorithm again. Here's the new things we need to go in and tweak. What do you recommend to keep up with those changes?
I love the podcast. It is How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy. And it is hosted by, let me get her name correct so that I don't tell you wrong. It's How to Sell Your Stuff on Etsy by Lizzie Smiley. She does an excellent job on going with the Etsy trends. But Etsy also sends us an email if you read your emails that goes with different trends that they're going for.
Work emails as it is. I can't say I'm checking my emails.
Yeah. I usually ignore them until I'm looking for something specific.
Right. Probably should be better at that. But yeah, Etsy, I guess they do trends, right? And so
they do have their Etsy trend report that they will publish. And the Etsy trend report really just goes over what they're seeing in the market of what people are searching for.
So is that something you'd recommend kind of keeping an eye on?
Oh, yeah. Definitely make sure that you're reading it every time they come out.
Is there anything else you'd maybe give as advice for somebody who's just starting out on Etsy or somebody that's fairly new to Etsy as far as how to get their shop?
Just keep trying. Just
keep trying.
add listings and try, and something will take off.
Well, and the other thing that I think you've kind of noticed some success with was going in and updating the listings, kind of having those touch points in there. I know when we kind of first started out, we'd set the listing and then we wouldn't touch it for forever unless something's sold. And then even then it was going in and just managing the sale.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like now the more touch points you have in there, that also kind of helps boost your listings as a whole because it shows what activity, I guess.
Yeah, and one of the things that I've stopped doing is I no longer do the automatic renewal. Whenever the listing expires, I won't have it do it automatically. I'll go in there and if a listing expires, I'll be like, okay, what do I need to do about this listing to change it? Let me check pictures, make sure they make sense, the description, just really revamp it if it's been 6 months and it hasn't sold.
Higher quality photos seem to also help with those listings.
Yeah, definitely need higher quality photos on your Etsy listings.
What are some other good marketplaces that you've heard of other than Etsy? Because Etsy's the big one that I've heard of, but I know you've dabbled with a couple others that you've kind of investigated to see if they'd be a good fit. Now, we haven't sold much in these other places, but there are other avenues other than Etsy.
Yeah, so you have Marketplace by Michaels. This one started a year or two ago, and it is done by Michaels. It's like their online selling platform for similar to Etsy. But all I've done on this one is I did set up my storefront whenever they very first came out and launched. However, I've had crickets, so I kind of forgot about it, and I haven't done anything to it.
Fair enough. I also saw that Amazon started a handmade tab.
So they've had Amazon Handmade now for quite a while.
What's the deal for that? Well, how does that differ from your regular Amazon? Any idea?
Yeah,
we don't spend a ton of time on Amazon, so I don't think we really know.
I'm not quite sure on the Amazon Handmade. To be honest with you guys, I am not a huge Amazon fan. We've had such bad luck with packages not showing up that
kind of written them off.
Yeah, at the moment I'm not. I just don't use Amazon very often unless I absolutely have to.
Any other good ones you've heard of?
Yeah, there's a new one. It's called Go Imagine. Now, this one has the slogan of shop with a heart, give with purpose. 2% of every purchase is donated to children in needs. And what they do is they'll take 2% of your purchases and they're donating it all to one or two charities. One of their plans, do you remember Amazon Smile?
Yeah.
I think it disappeared a couple of years ago. But that is one of their plans in the future is to let sellers choose where it donates to. But the founder was like, it'd be better to give thousands of dollars to a handful of charities versus pennies to thousands. So once it gets bigger, they're hoping to do that.
Well, that's really neat.
Mm-hmm. But on this one, how it differs from Etsy is it has to be handmade. So there's no print on demand. There's no digital downloads. This is just a handmade platform only. So pretty cool. We're not on that one yet, but I'm hoping to start it this year and just see how it goes.
So I guess a little earlier in our conversation, you'd mentioned that you could post on your personal social media page. Do you want to kind of elaborate on social media?
Sure. We'll go with social media next. So one of the big ones that probably most of you guys have heard of are the TikTok shops, which you can sell off your TikToks and have different sellable pins, or not pins, sellable stories and such. So, and have your own shop inside of it.
Well, I've seen a lot of people selling on Facebook. I mean, Facebook, whether it's on the marketplace or whether you're just posting it on your personal page, or maybe you've started a business page.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a good one just because it kind of reaches that same friends and family, but kind of expands that pool a little, and it makes it easier for them to share your stuff. They think it's a good idea. So Facebook's probably a really powerful one.
I know a lot of people that's had some luck with Facebook. However, I do know the marketplace, a lot of people, it's almost like an online flea market. Great place to get rid of random things like tennis rackets, but we haven't ever used it for our own products that we hand make. Now, tennis rackets, I've sold quite a few on them on Facebook Marketplace.
I'm sure there's plenty of other social media ones. I mean, I feel like social media as a whole is just kind of connecting with that friends and family. Some of them make it a little easier to sell on them than others. I think you used to be able to sell, maybe you still can, on Instagram.
Yeah, there are sellable pins on Instagram.
And then I don't know much about the other social media because it feels like we're now getting a million different social media platforms and they kind of come and go and fall in and out of fashion. But, you know, it's just a great way to kind of leverage your social network.
So, do you want to move on to vendor events?
Sure. Yeah, vendor events are a fun way to get, well, depending on your personality, it may or may not be a fun way to get feedback and get your product out there.
They are really fun for extroverts. I am a major introvert, and I do not want to talk to people.
See, that's where we differ.
Vendor event.
I loved the vendor events. That was fun.
Yeah.
The thing I liked about the vendor events, though, is not only were you able to get your product in front of people, but if you give them the space to kind of look at your product and not be kind of all on top of them when they first walk in, you just kind of listen to the conversations they're having with their friends or family or whoever they're shopping with, you'll get some pretty honest feedback. And sometimes it's good, and sometimes you get really good ideas for tweaks to the product or other things to add. Yeah. But other times you can get some brutally honest feedback that, you know, might make you tweak the way you're doing things a little.
You're going to also get some really strange requests. Do you remember that one that we got for, what was it? The shovel.
Yeah, I think it was like a poop scoop shovel.
Yeah.
Something.
So it was a yellow poop scoop shovel that somebody wanted for a friend for a Christmas gift.
It was quite a bizarre request, but, you know, it was memorable.
Very memorable. Definitely remember it. And they said it was something they couldn't find in a store.
The other thing about vendor events is I would recommend trying a handful of them because depending on the market that you're at or the venue that you're at, what the weather's doing, what else is going on, just either locally or there's so many factors that can
make or break
impact.
It.
Yeah. So I know we've done a couple where we thought we were going to do awesome and it really kind of fizzled out either because the weather was too hot or too cold or just wasn't the right atmosphere. And we've had others that we
have rocked.
We've rocked and that we didn't anticipate rocking. We were just like, I guess we'll go to that one. Mm-hmm. It turned out to be really good. So I would recommend trying, if that's something you're interested in, trying a bunch of them.
Especially if you have new product that you want to get feedback on if you're not sure.
Most of the vendor events will give you like a 10 by 10 space. You'll set up a tent. Highly recommend getting some good anchors for your tent. You don't want to be that person whose tent, goes flying across the vendor event and crashes into somebody else's stuff. But
yeah, and then if you need insurance for it, a lot of the vendor events that we did this year required insurance for it. I recommend ACT Insurance. It's ACT ACT Insurance.
That we could sign up for just a day or
so it
a
was
week or however long we really needed it for.
But they have crafter's liability insurance, and you can either buy it for a year if you're going to go and do a ton of them, or you can just do like a single event. And the crafter insurance is a type of policy that combines multiple insurance coverages into one plan.
Anyways, if you're thinking about getting into vendor events, or just is something that you've kind of been on the fence about, I'd highly recommend trying it. Mm-hmm. There's probably a website or something for your locality, or just Google vendor events near you.
It will come up with several of them.
It'll come up with a bunch. Mm-hmm. And then, like I said, just try a bunch, see what works, see what vibe works for you.
Also, you don't have to invest in everything right away. You don't have to get all the fancy stuff for your very first one. See if you like it before you invest. Borrow things from friends, because you never know if you're going to like them or not.
Or just maybe DIY a couple of your display pieces before you invest in the crazy nice display pieces.
Yeah. Okay, next is going to be retail stores.
So there's a couple different styles of retail stores out there. I mean, I think when a lot of people talk about or think about retail stores, they're like, oh, I couldn't afford to have a brick and mortar. Like, I'm not big enough. But depending on how you set yourself up, you don't necessarily need a brick and mortar. You can be in a brick and mortar location without necessarily having the ownership of it.
Yeah.
Right?
So one of the easiest ways is finding a location that you can consign in, which means they take part of the profits, but you're not paying to have your stuff in there. Whenever they sell it, then you'll get a percentage of it, and it can range in whatever the percentages that you guys agree on. Or you guys can rent a space inside of it and pay a monthly fee, and then they might design at the space for you, or you might have your own little booth inside that you get a design. So a good example of this would be like a Paint It Tree, where they might have 300 to 400 vendors inside one building. And then each person has anywhere from like a shelf all the way to like a 10 by 20 foot area that they design.
Yeah. So each vendor kind of has their own booth space inside, but then the location will have staff there that handles the actual like sales and upkeeps the building and does all that kind of stuff. All you're responsible for is kind of the way your booth looks and keeping it
keeping it
full of
updated,
merchandise,
making sure
but,
it's full. But then you don't have to be there.
It's kind of nice though, because people can come shopping for all sorts of different stuff and they'll just shop from a bunch of different vendors. It's kind of like a collective co-op market. But then the going back to the consignment, that's really interesting option, because you can go talk to some of those smaller retail stores, mom and pop shops, or just anything that you think your product would be a good fit in, and just see if they're open to it. It's a neat way, and it can get you into some locations that
you would never imagine that you could get into.
Right.
Next up would be your own website, which might be one of the easiest and hardest way to sell your stuff.
Depending on how good you are at website design.
Yes.
I feel like we've redone the website quite a few times. And
so we're currently using Shopify, which is probably one of my favorite website builders that we've used.
Any particular reason for that?
I think it's one of the easiest for selling goods.
Okay.
They're really good at it, but they are one of the more expensive ones out of the different ones that we've tried. But I don't know if it's just because it's been 10 years since we've started and all of them are better now, or
they have some fairly
technology.
easy to use templates though, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
So that can help you kind of get up and off the ground running with a relatively professional looking site, and Shopify is a more trusted brand.
But if you do your own site versus, say, something like Etsy, you do have to market your own products. So the customers are not already there. You're going to have to go out and find them.
You're going to have to build a sales funnel.
Yeah, or have really good SEO.
Or both.
So you also have wholesale, which if you're doing wholesale, one of the easiest ways I think is Faire.
So Faire is similar to Etsy, right? But it's more geared towards...
It's similar to Etsy. However, it is different. It's designed for wholesale. You do have to apply and be accepted to be able to be on Faire. So for Faire, what they do is they're going to take a 15% commission, and then they charge a one-time new customer fee of $10 on top of the standard commission rate.
But I think they waive that if you bring your own customers, right? So if you send people to your shop on Faire, you have to have a direct link, but I think it waives that $10 fee at least, and then what lessens the commission since you brought them there?
Yes, that is true. And then because it is wholesale, it is 50%, or you might be able to change it slightly. I have mine set at right at 50% off of retail price. It does really well if you have a very high profit, high margins product.
The cool thing that I think is about Faire though is that you can get into some shops that you might not otherwise have even ever considered being in, because they're out there. They've got these larger buyers for wholesale product that's looking to potentially stock a few stores, and they're looking for whatever smaller shops that they can kind of fill their inventory with. So we've ended up in some really kind of neat places. I think we ended up in a grocery store, an airport, a couple hospital gift shops, all places that I never would have anticipated we would ever have product. So that was kind of neat. But Fair, I think, is one of those ones that I would wait until you're a little bit more well established, have the product figure out the Etsy stuff first. But once you're ready to kind of take that bigger leap, maybe starting the wholesale process, if that's kind of something you've been considering for scaling your business, Fair is probably a great jumping off point.
Because you can also do wholesale like the more traditional way, which is where you either have a rep or you attend a trade show or you contact them yourself.
Trade shows just sounds like a more stressful vendor event.
Yes. We have not done a trade show yet, and I don't think we plan to anytime soon. That just seems...
We'll keep you posted if we ever do, though.
Yeah.
Let you know how that goes. The other way you could do it, though, and
it's just reaching out to them.
Yeah, reaching out to them, doing a little bit of research on who you think would be a good fit, and then sending them a postcard or a letter, or maybe even some sample products, an email.
Just going to see them in person.
Right. There's a bunch of different ways that you can get a hold of people. I mean, with the internet now, it's fairly easy to find contact information if you're not going to go in person. But just reaching out and saying, hey, I've got a product I think would be a good fit, and kind of start that conversation.
So, okay, I think that is it for all of the different places that we can sell. Is there anything else you want to add?
Just get started. Honestly, I think that was kind of our biggest hurdle. We probably spent more time debating where we should sell, what we should sell, how to sell it.
Yeah. And remember,
the first few listings were brutal to get through, but once you do it a time or two, it becomes a lot easier, and just kind of build that confidence.
Thank you so much for joining us today on episode number 3 of Party with the Laser.
Bye.
Bye. If you're looking for more resources, head on over to partywiththelaser.com, where you'll find show notes, all the links from today's episode, the blog, and so much more. If this episode was helpful for you, awesome. The greatest compliment I could receive from you is a rate, review, and subscribe on the podcast. Not only will this allow us to connect again on future episodes, it lets me know that I'm providing you with value, information, and helps other people find this content more easily. I'm truly appreciative of your support. Have a great day, and see you next time.
BN. Have a great day. Bye-bye.